Hello and welcome to a very spooky edition of Inside the Inferno. My name is Sammy Califf and alongside me is John Kinney.
Sammy, we have a packed show with all things ASU athletics.
ASU football saw their momentum wave come crashing down after they lost to Cincinnati 24-14. This puts the Sun Devils at 5-2 this season. Our very own Kendall Flynn has more insight into ASU's crushing defeat.
That's right, Sammy. Cincinnati handed Arizona State its second loss of the season, 24-14. The Sun Devils were missing redshirt freshman quarterback Sam Leavitt due to injury against the Bearcats. Even with Jess Sims in for Leavitt, the Sun Devils weren't nearly as powerful in offense as we've seen in previous games. They were 0 for 5 on third downs and 0 for 2 on fourth downs. The Sun Devils came out with an early lead with a 2-yard rushing touchdown by Cam Scadaboo to make it 7-0. Cincinnati's next drive ended with an interception from ASU's Keith Abney. However, the excitement and early lead did not last long as Scadaboo fumbled, forced by Antoine Peak Jr., which ultimately led to a 14-yard run by Cincinnati redshirt sophomore quarterback Brendan Sorsby for a touchdown, his first in the game. Sorsby went 23 for 31 and had 206 passing yards. A big moment for the Bearcats was a 55-yard run by Evan Pryor in the second quarter. Pryor's touchdown and Sorby's second were the last ones for Cincinnati as ASU's defense held them from the end zone in the last half of the game. After one final touchdown from ASU in the third quarter, the score remained at 24-14 Cincinnati. With Leavitt back this weekend, we'll see if ASU recovers from its loss against Cincinnati as they face Oklahoma State. Back to you at the desk, John.
Thanks, Kendall. This week, the Sun Devils are coming off a bye week and are heading into Stillwater, Oklahoma, looking to become bowl eligible for the first time since 2021. Our Jesse Davis previews this weekend's matchup.
Thanks, John. ASU football is coming off of a bye week and heading into Saturday's tilt on the road, taking on Oklahoma State. The Sun Devils hold a record of 5-2 and will look to earn their 6th win of the season against a struggling Cowboys team that has lost 5 in a row. ASU will have starting quarterback Sam Leavitt back after he missed the last game against Cincinnati with a rib injury. Leavitt being back is huge for a Sun Devils offense that was only able to spot 14 points in his absence. Look for ASU to continue to lean on senior running back Cam Scadaboo, who has had a dominant start to the season thus far, notching 150 carries for 848 yards and 10 touchdowns, averaging 5.7 yards per carry. ASU should have a favorable matchup going against an Oklahoma State team that has allowed 38 or more points in its last 4 games. The question that remains for ASU is, can it get the job done? Getting off to a fast start is going to be crucial for the Sun Devils on the road, trying to take the crowd out of the game early. Look for Leavitt to establish a connection with his #1 targeted wide receiver, Jordan Tyson, who leads the team with 477 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns. With the second half of the season upon us, ASU must take advantage of this opportunity this Saturday. Back to you guys at the desk.
This past Saturday, ASU men's basketball took on Duke University in exhibition bout. However, the night didn't go as smooth for the Sun Devils as they lost 103-47. In this case, the good overshadows the bad because this was a sentimental night for ASU head coach Bobby Hurley as he visited his alma mater with his head held high. Our own Ernie Jimenez has more on Coach Hurley's emotional homecoming.
Yeah, thank you, Sammy. From former Duke Blue Devil to the current head coach of the Arizona State Sun Devils men's basketball team, Bobby Hurley made just his second return to Cameron Indoor Stadium since his 4-year tenure at Duke 31 years ago. Hurley said it, quote, felt weird not being on the floor, and also added, I never wanted to come back here because it was so good to me, unquote. Having his jersey retired in the rafters, appearing in 140 total games, finishing his career as the NCAA's all-time assist leader and playing a pivotal role in their back-to-back national title run in 1991 and 1992, Hurley was welcomed back with open arms. The tribute included a video montage of Hurley's Duke days, and as the video played, Hurley and Coach K stood side by side below, soaking in those memories together. Everything was picture perfect. Before tip-off anyway, Bobby Hurley's homecoming was spoiled as his Sun Devils suffered a huge loss to Duke. Shooting a whopping 25% even from 3, ASU suffered a 56-point loss, 103-47. With the reunion behind him, he can now focus on getting the Sun Devils ready to host Idaho State in their November 5th opener. Back to you two at the desk.
Thanks, Ernie. Continuing with men's basketball, the Sun Devils open up the season on Tuesday night when they host Idaho State. Our men's basketball reporter Adam Coonan has a preview of Tuesday's matchup.
Thanks, John. Well, as already pointed out, ASU men's basketball's first showing on the hardwood didn't go as planned. Thankfully for Bobby Hurley and his Sun Devils, the squad has a blank slate starting next Thursday on November 5th when the Maroon and Gold take the floor for their first regular season game against the Idaho State Bengals at home. The game should serve as a tune-up for the Sun Devils, who welcome a Bengal team that finished with a 14-20 record last season. But what areas should Sun Devil fans hope to see improved in the season opener? How about three-point shooting? A weak point for ASU last season that didn't seem to be fixed in the exhibition game, as the Sun Devils shot just 25% from behind the arc. Look for ASU to try to get perimeter threats, such as senior guard Adam Miller and freshman guard Josan Sanan, involved early. Additionally, Hurley's squad must put forth a better effort defensively. Last season, ASU ranked 223rd in the country in points allowed at 74 points per game. And the 103 points that the Sun Devils gave up to Duke was anything but encouraging. So ASU must come out with a defensive performance against Idaho State that impresses, as the Bengals just ranked 263rd in the country and averaged 69.4 points per game last season. Finally, I have to mention 17-year-old freshman center Jaden Quaintance, who is already impressed in his short time in Tempe. He should only continue to improve and will be a scary player for ASU this season. Overall, the Tuesday night affair should serve as a fun opening showcase for the Sun Devils, who will look to get off on the right track in 2024. Back to you guys at the desk.
ASU women's basketball will start their season on Monday, November 4th against Jacksonville State at home in a non-conference game. The Sun Devils are coming off an 11th place finish in the Pac-12 last season. Our own Johan Lopez joins us now at the desk with a preview on how the Sun Devils are preparing for this upcoming season. Johan, good to have you here in the studio.
Oh, it's amazing to be here, Sammy.
Yeah, Halloween was yesterday. What were you dressed up as?
I was a bricklayer. My jump shot didn't look so good. It didn't look so pretty, but I'll tell you another thing that didn't look so pretty was last year for the ASU women's basketball team. Well, let's just be honest. It was a season forget. The Sun Devils finished with an 11-20 record. And Natasha Adir's third season, the one thing that ASU will look to improve on is to be a better road team. The Sun Devils finished 1-9 on the road and ended their final season in the Pac-12 on a 6-game losing streak.
Well, on the bright side for the Sun Devils, they are going to have the individual scoring leaders from each of the last two seasons playing together for the first time.
That's right, Sammy. Graduate guard Ty Skinner, who missed all of last season due to a knee injury, is slated to make a comeback this season. The last time Skinner played, she finished second in scoring in the Pac-12 with 19 points a game, and will play alongside junior guard Jalen Brown, who was the only bright side of last season, averaging 17 points per game. But this new Sun Devil backcourt is going to be putting up some impressive numbers that should lead to much more wins this season.
Well, Johan, Skinner isn't the only addition to this new team compared to last year. There's only 6 returners coming back and a total of 8 new faces. So which of the new faces is going to have an immediate impact?
Oh, that's easy. That's going to be the Hopetown girl, Kenny Basham, 6'7", Oregon transfer. She obviously is born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona, and she's going to do a lot for this team defensively. She had 48 blocks last season. It's always good to have size complement the backcourt. So Skinner and Brown are going to love this addition. This new season should be an exciting one to watch. So much promise for this revamped Sun Devil team.
Well, thank you for taking the time to join us in the studio, Johan. Should be a very exciting season for Sun Devil women's basketball.
That should be fun, Sammy.
Over to the ice, where the Sun Devil men's hockey team is currently on a 6-game road trip. This past weekend, the Sun Devils traveled to Marquette, Michigan to take on Northern Michigan. Our Hannah Flanagan has more on how the Sun Devils fared against the Wildcats this past weekend.
Sun Devil hockey managed to pull out a clean sweep at Northern Michigan this past weekend. This was their first sweep since last December. In Friday night's showdown, the Devils secured a 3-2 victory with goals from Bennett Shimmick, Ryan Kerwin, and Benji Eckerly. Kerwin, a transfer from Penn State, had a standout weekend, netting 3 goals overall. He scored both goals on Saturday, leading the Devils to a 2-0 win. Junior goalie Gibson Homer secured a 22-save shutout, the second of his NCAA career. Their record is now 3-4-1 as they head into a bye week before traveling to Colorado College. Back to you guys at the desk.
The Sun Devils hosted the University of Arizona last Friday, which saw the Sun Devils fall to the Wildcats 1-0. Like a spirit with his stories, the ghost of Johan Lopez has some insight on what went down that night.
It was senior night for the ASU women's soccer team under the Friday night lights.
Unfortunately for the seniors, they could not get their last home victory as in-state rivals, the Arizona Wildcats, played spoiler, defeating ASU 1-0.
The Sun Devils tonight weren't necessarily overmatched against the Wildcats. The theme of this match for ASU was threatening many times but not coming away with a goal, being shut out for the 4th time this season.
ASU had a total of 13 shots, and 5 of those shots were on target. They definitely threatened, but just couldn't get the job done. And with the Lady Sun Devils dropping the season finale, they finished with a record of 8 wins, 7 losses, and 3 ties. In their first season as part of the Big 12 Conference, they finished with a disappointing 3-7-1 conference record. Overall, this season can be labeled as a success. They did make the playoffs, they did have a winning record, and in their first season in a new conference where they would play new teams and not the teams they would be used to playing, like in the West Coast, the Sun Devils did finish with a great home record, finishing with a 6-4-2 record. ASU will now take on the 8-5-4 Kansas Jayhawks in the 2024 Sprouts Farmers Market Big 12 Soccer Championship, looking to avenge their 2-1 loss that they just took place last week.
Reporting from Tempe, this is Johan Lopez for Inferno Intel.
Thanks, Johan. The Sun Devils played the Kansas Jayhawks in the first round of the 2024 Big 12 Soccer Championship on Wednesday evening in Kansas City. Our own Mahir Sinhasan is in Kansas City with the recap.
Well, all things must come to an end, and that was the case for the Arizona State Soccer Sun Devils here at CPKC Stadium as they lost 2-1 to the Kansas Jayhawks in the first round of the 2024 Big 12 Soccer Championships. The Kansas Jayhawks were on the attack first with a 17th-minute goal from Lexi Watts, just sneaking it past Pauline Nellis and the Arizona State defense, and they got a second goal in the 58th minute, an absolute banger from Caroline Castens, her 3rd goal in the past 2 games. Kira Blundell, the Big 12 Freshman Player of the Year, responded for Arizona State just 60 seconds after the second goal for Kansas, and the Sun Devils had a little bit of hope down 2-1, but they were unable to get the equalizer as they bowed out of the Big 12 tournament, and their NCAA hopes came crumbling down. The Sun Devils wrap up the season with 8 wins, 8 losses, and 3 draws, and they'll also lose 3 seniors in the offseason, all of them starters, Lauren Kerberg, Carrie Matthews, and Olivia Coleman. But nonetheless, Graham Winkworth is excited about this upcoming season in 2025 with the hopes of really bolstering his offense with Anisha Cologne and Kira Blundell, along with Cameron Valadares, who all seem to be returning, along with a bunch of other players that will come into the program. In Kansas City, Mahir Sinhasan, Inferno Intel.
Thanks, Mahir. The Sun Devil volleyball team started their 2-game road trip last night in Provo, Utah against BYU. The Sun Devils were able to pick up their 21st win on the season. Arizona State was led by graduate outside hitter Shania Cromartie with 16 kills and 10 digs. Senior outside hitter Jelly Sear also led the Sun Devils with 15 kills and 19 digs. Arizona State finishes out their road trip on Saturday when they travel to Salt Lake City to take on Utah.
And that will wrap up an action-packed edition of Inside the Inferno. Thanks so much for joining us today on this special Halloween edition of Inside the Inferno.
Make sure to stay up to date on our in-depth coverage of ASU athletics throughout the year on our website, InfernoIntelMedia.com, and on social media at Inferno Intel. For Sam and our entire crew, I'm John Kinney. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Inside the Inferno.